Welcome to Gene and Mike do the New York Times crossword.
Hi, I'm Jean.
And I'm Mike. And today we are doing the crossword for Sunday, May 5th, 2024. Did you do the crossword?
I did.
And did you end up with a sunny disposition after doing it?
A sunny disposition?
A sunny disposition on a Sunday.
I was over the moon after I did it.
Over the moon?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, I liked it. It was just a fun Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Not too hard. It had a lot of clues for my generation, I think, because there were songs from my generation, and of course the theme was a lot of what I learned when I was growing up. And so anyway, yeah, it was kind of nostalgic in a way.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What did you think?
I didn't really notice the nostalgia too much. I was just too busy doing the crossword. But I didn't find it too difficult. And when I got it finished, I, of course, didn't get the happy music immediately. But it didn't take me too long to sort of hunt down my error. So
that's good.
Once again, this week, although this really is the beginning of next week, but starting from Thursday, this is still this is almost the fastest crossword I've done since Thursday. So there is that.
Very good. Mm-hmm.
And the theme was sort of quaint.
Yes, it was. The title of the puzzle was From the Astronaut's Logbook. And all of the theme clues, of which there were quite a few, were written in italics, and you knew they were theme clues because of that. But they were also written as if somebody was keeping a record or a diary, and they were just putting little notes into the diary as they went along. And of course, from the astronaut's logbook, you know that the person writing them was an astronaut. So, for example, 18 down was, oops, zoned out for a sec. Houston, can you retransmit our coordinates? And the answer to that was lost in space. So they took the logbook entries of the astronaut, and all of the answers to them were just common phrases that you would have heard in regular conversation, or like this one, Lost in Space, was the name of a television show.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that was the theme. And I believe, weren't all the theme clues going up and down? They were.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. So that kind of gave you the feeling of, going up like a rocket. And in actuality, if you look at the puzzle, now this took me a while, but if you look at the puzzle, you can kind of see a rocket in it. And I was reading wordplay, and it said it starts at the little triangle under 79 down. Well, there is no 79 down, but I think what they meant was 7, 8, and 9 down.
Yes.
And there you see a little black triangle of black squares. And then it mentioned that there were two down clues that were not actually theme clues, but they kind of went along with the theme. And those were 77 and 78 down, and they were related. The first one was, who's on a mission in today's puzzle? And the answer to that was Rocket Man. And then 78 across, 78 down, musician who sang about a 77 down. And of course, that was the great Elton John.
Mm-hmm.
And those two were supposed to kind of form the sides of the rocket. So if you looked at it for a while, you can kind of see the rocket there with the nose cone, little black triangle at the top, and then going down with Rocket Man and Elton John. And then there's like a T between those two answers, which I assumed stood for Titan, because those were the rockets that were used.
Really?
Yeah, Titan rockets, or that was the name of them. And so I was looking at them on the internet, And some of them actually do have a T on them, but it goes the other way. It seems to go upside down from the way it's shown on the puzzle.
What happened to the Apollo rockets?
Weren't those Titan?
I thought Titan was the name of the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh mascot. Were those the name? I mean,
maybe those were just Gemini, and then they used Saturn V rockets.
Yeah, the Saturn V is what got the U.S. to the moon.
Yeah, but the early space program, I think they used...
Well, let's see. They had Gemini. They had Mercury.
I think maybe for those two.
There was a rocket called Titan?
I believe so. So
we'll have to research that.
Yeah, well, I got my little Google here. So there you can see all the different Titan rockets. So you can
fascinating.
See, like this one's
got we can see. Our listeners can't see. But
this one's got a little upside down T on it. But some of them were,
and this
I thought were related, to it's like launch vehicles for the Gemini and probably Mercury program.
Well, that's a little bit before my time. So, but
yeah.
All right. So there was a rocket called Titan.
Titan rocket.
It really didn't get sort of the airplay that Apollo got.
No.
And Saturn V.
Well, if you were living in this country, it did, because, every time a spaceship would go up, or, every time they would have a mission from NASA going into space, they would pull televisions into our classroom so we could watch it. We watched, like John Glenn when he circled the Earth, and, we just, that was big deal. I mean, I was very, very young, so I was sort of like, oh, okay. But this was the era of science, and so lots of science and math. And so, And so
they'd always shout, "There goes another Titan."
No, they didn't shout that. But
they didn't? Okay.
Anyway, so that was the theme, and I thought it was rather clever. So.
I wonder if it was in honor of anything. Let's see. This came out on the 5th, so it's too late for May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the 5th was about. I guess it just seemed like a good day. For one thing, this was a bigger crossword. I mean, they needed that space.
Yes, because there were a lot of those log entries. I only read one, but they were all kind of clever. Another one, 13 down. And just like that, sky and clouds are behind us. And the answer to that was out of the blue. And then we had 32 down. Our lunar rover is collecting samples at long last. It's been sitting in storage for months. And that was gathering dust. And another one, 34 down. Moving in 0G is just blissful. And that was floating on air. I don't know. I went to space camp with a Girl Scout group once, and we were subjected to G-forces. I didn't find them too blissful. 70 down was, ouch, drifted too far and bonked my head on that darn window. But wow, would you look at the view? And that was seeing stars. And then finally 74 down. Re-entry time, let's make sure we do this simply and practically. And the answer to that was down to earth.
Yes.
So anyway, those were the theme clues.
Let's see. I had something profound that I was going to say about this puzzle. It involved the grid. Did you notice the grid dimensions?
No, I did not.
I'm pretty sure it's 21 across and 22 down.
Oh, okay. It does look a little skinny.
Which is befitting a crossword about space and rockets.
Well, and to have a lot of long answers, maybe they needed an extra row.
Well, I think just to sort of, emphasize the height aspect of it all.
I suppose.
They wanted to do that. But, I thought... It wasn't too difficult a crossword, I thought.
No. But, in terms of the nostalgia, of course, Rocket Man and Elton John, or Elton John. I mean, he's been popular forever, but certainly while I was growing up, I listened to a lot of Elton John. 22 across, they had 1962 Beatles hit, which is, when I was very, very young, but Love Me Do. I do remember that one, Love Me Do. But then maybe a little closer to my generation, 120 across, my blank was My Sharona.
Mm-hmm.
The neck.
And then next to it, we had...
the next one, too, 121 across. He placed a call to Armstrong and Aldrin minutes after their landing. And, of course, that was President Nixon.
Yes.
Nixon. Mm-hmm. So, though there was a lot of pop culture that I knew because I kind of lived through some of that.
Right. Mm-hmm. But no, not a lot, if any, sort of modern pop culture.
No. I was thinking, if any of our kids was doing this, they probably wouldn't do too well.
Right.
So...
They did have 8 down. Tommy Lee Jones' role in Men in Black was Agent K.
Uh-huh.
And they also had 4 across, do or not do. There is no blank. 6 down, quote. And the answer was try. And 6 down was, 4 across, it was Yoda.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So that was sort of space related. a little more fictional than perhaps the Titan.
And of course they re-released Star Wars so that our children's generation could see it on the big screen.
I think they released it so they could make more money.
Well, that too, but they might have been familiar with that.
Let's see, what else was intriguing here? I was reading 5 down. 5 down was orange sushi topper, and I was trying to figure out if that's an orange sushi topper or an orange sushi topper. Depending on how you group those 3 words, I don't know if it really matters, but it is row. That was the answer to it.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And for some reason, I can't pronounce the word sushi. I'm going to have to work on that. I know. Mm-hmm. Actually, apparently I can say it alone, but when I have to say it right after orange, I have a problem. So.
Oh dear.
Yes, I know. Very embarrassing. 7 across, call me. And the answer was cab.
Yes.
That was rather clever. 20 across, fine by me was okay, sure.
Right.
Sort of a, I guess, okay answer.
I think so. 39 across took me a bit. Quaint double contraction. Twasn't. I don't know that I've ever used twasn't in conversation, but it wasn't meant to be, I suppose.
Well, do you use twas in conversation?
No.
Okay, so if you don't use twas, you're not likely to use twasn't. I mean, isn't that in Twas the Night Before Christmas?
No.
Isn't?
It definitely was not.
Isn't that a phrase?
No.
Twas the Night Before Christmas?
Oh, twas the night before Christmas. Yeah. Yes. Not twasn't.
No, but it was. But twas. I was just trying to find some phrase in which twas made an appearance.
It is in that. Yes.
Let's see. 21 down. General acknowledgments was salutes.
That's right.
That was sort of clever.
Yes. Yes. I thought 105 was a good clue. Close to closed. And that was ajar.
Yes.
Which is a pretty common crossword word, but I don't know that it's ever been clued as close to closed.
Right.
So,
It's all in the clues.
Mm-hmm. And then they kept having these trattoria ones. And I was like, trattoria, is that Mexican? No. But then Spanish, and then I thought, no, it is actually Italian. Right?
Wait, where are you looking?
Well, we had 107 across, green trattoria topping, which was pesto.
Yes.
And then we also had 61 across, green trattoria topping, and that was oregano.
Right.
So, but you had to know the right country that a trattoria was in before you could kind of answer that.
Not me.
No, really?
I just managed to, somehow figure out that a spice was involved.
Spice and a sauce, pesto sauce.
Right next to pesto, 109 across, ventriloquist Shirley Dinsdale was the first person to win one, 1949, Emmy.
Yes. I was curious about that. Like, what TV show was she on that she won an Emmy for?
I was gobsmacked that it was a ventriloquist. I'm also pleased to be able to use the word gobsmacked in a sentence. I didn't think any ventriloquist had ever won an Emmy, but perhaps they didn't win it for being a ventriloquist. We may need to investigate Shirley Dinsdale.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we have any Shirley Dinsdale fans listening. If she won it in 1949, probably not a lot of them.
Well, in
Although we can't rule
1949,
it out.
how many people actually had television?
Let's see. If you were 10 years old in 19, so you're born in 39, that would make you 61,
No,
85.
80,
Well, yeah, plus 24, 85. Oh, we could have lots of listeners who remember Shirley Dinsdale. And if anyone does, crosswordpodcast@icloud.com. Drop us a line here. Let's see, 26 across. That was Quaker in the Woods, and that was Aspen Tree.
Yes, yeah, that was another great clue.
I think though, if you've been doing these crosswords for a while, even something like that just sort of, it isn't that difficult to figure out. It's like, what shakes in the woods? Aspen.
That's right.
Um,
I got this one right away, and I was very proud of myself. 30 across. Merce by another name. Man bag. I remember Merce. We had that. It might have been last year, and I had never heard of. That's what they call a purse for men. A
right.
Merce, or you can also call it a man bag.
Well, I had man bee, and I thought it was going to be man bun.
Oh.
but then
no, not a Merce.
Well, but what helped there too was they had Ryder Rand 31 down, and that's Anne Rand.
That's right.
So that sort of got rid of the man bun.
Yes, definitely.
Let's see here. 36 across. I was fascinated to discover the clue was Francisco with frescoes, and the answer was Goya.
That's right.
I had no idea that Goya had a first name.
Oh.
I always just thought it was Goya.
No.
Did you know that Francisco was Goya's first name?
Yes, I did.
No one ever told me that he had a first name.
Well, now you know.
I'm sort of disappointed.
You want to know a secret? They all do.
All right. I'll take your word for it. I certainly don't know what they are, though.
Where I ended up, this is so crazy. 54 across. I'm like, I could not figure out what that was. It was it was an illustration. It was not a clue. It was just a picture.
No, not 57 across.
No, 54 across.
54 across, yes, yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And I even blew it up and I couldn't figure out what it was.
It's a speaker with a red line going through it.
Yeah, but I'm just not familiar with that. I've done Zoom, maybe 3 times, and I just didn't recognize that at all. But that is a mute. That is mute, right?
Yeah, but I don't think that's a Zoom icon. I'm pretty sure that if Zoom had, it is a speaker, looks like sort of an old-fashioned speaker with a diagonal red line. Uh-huh. I don't think there's a standard for mute, but if there is, that's not it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was sort of.
Where would that be?
They're just showing you a speaker with a line through it, so there must be.
It looked to me like sort of like a light bulb with a line through it.
Well, it's got a look of an old, to me anyway, the look of an old-fashioned speaker. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it is considering the graphic expertise they have at the New York Times, you'd figure they could just go to an emoji and find one.
Well, they could just go to their website videos. They probably have mute signs, but I didn't think they looked quite like that.
Well, if they did, they should have at least made it into an X, not just have one diagonal line, but 2. They're having a sale on pixels. They could have doubled it.
So,
yeah,
anyway, that one kind of threw me, but eventually I figured out it was mute. But
right.
I skipped over that one, that's exactly where I ended up. I had M blank TE, and so I was able to get it from the down, 60 down, which was It's run up, then rung up, and that was runway.
Right. In that area, 59 down, last book of the Old Testament, I had it starting with an M and I had CHI at the end, and I was thinking of Marachi. And I guess there's mariachi, which is a band.
Is the correct word, but the correct answer is Malachi.
You've never heard of the mariachi book in the Old Testament?
Well, no, I don't think so.
I think
he was a minor prophet. Malachi was just a minor prophet.
Well, what about the mariachi band that he always traveled with?
Minor prophet.
It's Malachi's mariachi band and Old Testament book.
Malachi,
yes. Malachi, okay. Let's see here. 111 across was, if I can find it here, one getting fired after a strike. So I thought it was going to be like scab or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But it was match.
Yes.
That was amusing. And then for 114 across, really, really big, I went for Olympic because I had it starting with an O and ending in an IC.
Oh.
And I thought, well, Olympic? That sounds huge.
Yeah.
But it was oceanic.
Right.
Actually, I might have even thought about Titanic at some point, but which would have been great because, the Titan theme that you have mentioned previously.
True, yeah.
I ended up at 37 across sounds to me like I put down I make it, like I make it to be this or that. But that meant that 27 down, the DC VIP was Pomus. And I'm like, because at first I thought it was going to be like a poll, but of course I had 5 letters to play with. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really notice, but with the crosses it ended up being Pomus.
Yes.
And then I'm like, what's a Pomus? Oh, what's a POTUS?
Yes.
And that's where I was able to seal the deal there.
Clue was 37 across. Sounds to me like, and it was I take it to be like,
yes.
Sounds to me like it's this.
Right.
I take it to be this. Yeah.
It makes more sense than I make it, but in the heat of the moment,
I make it.
All right. Well, I think that is it for the crossword.
Okay.
But we do have a little bit of listener mail.
Yep.
This is from Bryn. And random listener question. Again, this is one of those, is it a random listener question or is it a random listener question? Anyway, hi, Gene and Mike, longtime listener. Thanks for the daily dose of fun. You are welcome, Bryn. Our pleasure. And we hope it is yours as well. Sounds like it is. A question I've long considered, what is your relation to one another? Apologies if this is too intimate. I just love to know. Happy solving, Bryn. Mm-hmm. Who are you again? Yes, we are related to one another. Mm-hmm. That's all the question is. What is your relation to one another? Mm-hmm. We are married.
Yes, we are.
To each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
we've been that way for a while.
Right. So that makes scheduling the podcast recordings easier.
That's true.
And yes. All right. I think we have successfully answered that question. Bryn, if you have any other questions, let us know. And anyone else who's listening and wants to do the same, please drop us a line. You can do what Bryn just did, crosswordpodcast@icloud.com.
Now, another great question is, how long have we been doing the crossword together? Well, we don't do the crossword together, but how long have we been talking about doing the crossword? And maybe not quite as long as we've been married, but for quite a while.
Oh, definitely much shorter period. It's just been a couple of years.
Oh, so it's been a little longer than that.
I don't think so. That's all I remember. I just remember last week. That's as far back as I can go. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, that is it for today then. So thanks everyone for listening.
Yes.
We will be back again with our cutting edge analysis of tomorrow's crossword tomorrow.
Bye-bye.